expression and assembly. Some of those involve protest. Youth kept, I've already heard, youth kept not only contained protest, but getting their personal details. The use of the press, definitely has is not the police. The role of the police is to facilitate peaceful protest, facilitate democratic protest, not to impede it. And that is the concern, and that is why Defend the Right to Protest is a group that requires some great support.
I think a really important watchword of this campaign is solidarity. Because what they're trying to do is divide us. They're trying to say there's the good protesters and the peaceful protesters over there, and there's the violent protesters over here. They're trying to divide us, intimidate us off the streets. And so solidarity, I think, is very important. And the next speaker is Alan Whitaker. He's the president of the UCU, the University College Lecturers Union, that played a very important role in coming out and supporting the students in the wake of the protests last term. So over to Alan Whitaker.
Okay, good morning everybody. The first thing I would like to say is, speaking as somebody who thought that their involvement in student protest finished at the beginning of the 1970s, I salute the students. I salute all of you who have taken part in these protests. I salute your energy and I salute your commitment. Because what you are fighting for, what you are fighting to defend, is the future of the university system, the post-16 education system in this country, as we have known it for the last, goodness knows how many hundreds of years. Make no mistake about it, if this government's proposals go through, if they implement the proposals that they have in mind, then universities as we have known them for the last 800 years will cease to exist. The idea that an education is available for everybody who is able to benefit from it, available to them in a way that means that they do not come out of the experience with a huge mountain of debt. All those things which we, up until the late 1990s, were regarded as just something that we took for granted. Certainly something that I took for granted when I was at university 40 years ago. That is going to stop. It is a scandal and it is a disgrace that we are now imposing, or that this government is imposing on our student population and on our future student population a regime that means that when they come out of universities, they are going to have a debt burden that will take them the best part of their working lives to pay off. It is a scandal that those young people who are trying to get themselves the qualifications that they need in order to be able to get to a university, or trying to get themselves the qualifications that they need in order to be able to get themselves work, are being denied that prospect by the withdrawal of the education maintenance allowance. We know that the education maintenance allowance worked. It is scandalous that the government is now trashing it, telling us that it wasn't targeted, trying to spread the lie that all the students did with it was use it to subsidize their Friday nights in the pub. That is rubbish. We know that for many, many students from the ages of 16 to 19,
LGBTQ group. We had 7 of our people arrested on the day of the wedding. Now, the action that we were planning was a zombie flash mob. It was meant to be fun, not threatening in any way. In fact, we actually got permission and liaised with one of the groups that were organising a street party in Soho Square at the Edge, and they gave us permission and they knew exactly what we were about. So we weren't about being threatening. So seeing all of the pre-arrests made people scared. When we actually got to the square, there were less people than we thought, but later on we started realising that actually some of those people had been arrested. So we had 7 people arrested. 5 of those people were the Starbucks zombies. They were arrested by 16 police officers. They were in various degrees or varying degrees of makeup, and it took 16 officers to arrest them. They were, arrested for having coffee at Starbucks. And then also more worryingly, actually, 2 other trans people arrested, and they were arrested because they had a leaflet and a little bottle of fake blood. So we're zombieing up later. These 2 trans people, they alleged sexual assault in police custody. One of them was actually cut here to ascertain their gender. The other one, other things happened. So they are seeking legal advice at the moment about exactly what happened. Now, taken all together, the preemptive arrests, these arrests under Section 60 and the arresting of these people a few hours later, this is all quite serious and worrying and scary to stopping people, silencing people from actually their right to protest. Also, another incident that happened was that we actually got evicted from Soho Square. Now, Soho is an area that has long time been synonymous with gays and queers, so it was very odd to be evicted from what we would kind of assume to be our space, our public space. We were told at a count time of 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes that we had to move. Now, I was in a dress, I was hands on beat up, and there was me tottering around in high heels trying to get out. So we had actually, and it's on camera, it's on the internet, we were told by the police we backed out from having the actual flash mob to actually just having a picnic and leaving the state, because it was much more important that we did our action and get people arrested. Thankfully in the end we actually did our action and it worked really well, and we met loads of people around Soho and it was very, very effective. But it was very important to say that the gays and queers are being evicted in case, and this is the wording that was used, they might offend the royalists. So, yeah, I very much, all of queer resistance very much defend the right to protest, and we're very pleased that the NUS LGBT conference for the weekend, that they passed a motion to condemn Met transphobia. So that's a really good movement and really support the Portland and Mason protesters here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ron. And it's worth knowing that there are quite a number of people that were arrested on the pre-crime charges that aren't able to be with us today, including Chris Knight and Charlie Beach, because they have been banned from the whole of the greater London area until they get to go back to their bail charges. So right, last up, I want to bring Mark from the National Union of Students who back the Defend the Right to Protest campaign nationally.
On the 10th of November, our national president took a very bad decision in saying that it was a small and violent minority which stormed Millbank, which laid siege on the Tory party headquarters. But within our own national union, the tide was against him because we affiliated to the Defend the Right to Protest campaign, and we stood shoulder to shoulder with all those people under attack by the police who were having their houses raided in the early dawns of the morning and who were being victimized by the media. And the thing is that the Fortnum and Mason's occupation highlighted something very important. It highlighted the fact that protesting has mainstream. It highlighted the fact that there is an alternative to the system we are currently exposed to. It highlighted the very fact that there is an alternative to austerity. And the thing is that after the Fortnum and Mason's occupation, I was asked by the media, so what would you have done if you were the police? What I would have done is, I would have locked up the bankers who have got £9 billion in bonuses. I would have locked up the tax evaders of Vodafone. I would have locked up the Queen and the rest of them. Because what they are doing to this country is absolutely horrendous. They are wrecking the future of 16-year-olds on EMA. They're taking away the disability allowance. And they're coming for each and every one of us. And today what we need to be doing in the future from now on is continuing the fight against the austerity measures as we continue defending the right to protest. There are two sides of the same coin, and only together, when a movement does not let itself be divided between good and bad protesters, but when we stand up and say there's no such thing as bad protesters, can we succeed against the austerity measures and break this coalition in two.